Okay, this is video 2 of Pythagorean Theorem. So just to let you know, sometimes they're going to turn the right triangle just to look different because they want to trick you. But you just need to pay attention to where the hypotenuse is. The hypotenuse is the side opposite of the 90-degree angle. Okay, so always just make sure you know where the 90-degree angle is. So we're going to do a review problem from last time, except it's not going to be a pretty number. It's just going to be a decimal, and I want you to round to the nearest tenth when you find your answer. So let's pretend this is 8, and this is 7.4, and I want you to find the length of the hypotenuse. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can solve this one by yourself. Okay, so what I would have done is gone 7.4 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. We don't know what that c is. And then 7.4 squared is 54.76. And I know 8 squared is 64. And that is going to tell us what c squared is. So I'm going to take 54.76 plus 64, and I get 118.76 equals c squared. And we don't want to know what c squared is, we just want to know what c is. So to get rid of that squared, I'm going to square root it. Those cancel each other out. It's just like multiplying and dividing cancel each other out, adding and subtracting cancel each other out, squaring and square rooting cancel each other out. So I'm going to take second square root 118.76, and you should have gotten 10.9 when you round. And that makes sense for this triangle. That side is the longest, and it's not too much larger than these other numbers, so I know that that's the right answer. Okay. We are going to practice finding one of the shorter side lengths when you're given one of the short side lengths and the hypotenuse. So it looks a little bit different. So I'm going to do a whole new example. Let's pretend we have our right triangle, and let's say the hypotenuse, the longest side, is 13.7. and one of the short sides is 9.2. Okay, so we're going to start this one off just a little bit different. We don't know this side length, but I know this squared plus this squared has to equal that squared. So I'm just going to write out what I know. I'm going to write 9.2 squared plus, this could be called a squared or b squared, it doesn't matter, is going to give us 13.7 squared. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is square these. So I'm going to go 9.2 squared, and that's 84.64 plus b squared is equal to 13.7 squared, and that's 187.69. So if you guys think back to when we're solving equations and we want to figure out what that is, what is the first thing we need to do to get this by itself? Okay, we want to subtract this 84.64. So we're going to do that to both sides. Subtract 84.64, subtract 84.64. Make sure to line up your decimals. These cancel, and we have b squared is equal to 187.69 minus 84.64, and that is 103.05. Okay, we're almost done. We know b times itself is equal to 103.05, so we're going to do the same thing we did in the other examples, and we're going to square root that to get rid of that squared. Square root, square root. So in your calculator, we want to find that square root button. Second square root 103.05, and I got 10.2 when you round. So let me just double check my work. If this is 10.2, I just need to make sure that is not the longest side. The longest side has to be the hypotenuse, and these numbers look pretty good. The hypotenuse is the longest. There's nothing way out of out of range. Make sure you didn't put 103 for this. But yeah, it looks good. Okay, let's do another example. Okay, so I'm just gonna draw the picture and then I want you to pause it and you try and solve it. Let's pretend this is 10.4 and let's pretend this is 8.9 and I want you to find what that is. So go ahead and pause and try and do it by yourself. Okay. Okay, so 8.9 squared plus something squared, I'm going to call that b, equals 10.4 squared equals, this is always the longest side. Okay, so we have 8.9 squared, 79.21 plus b squared equals 10.4 squared, 108.16. Okay, I am going to solve for b squared, so I'm going to subtract the 79.21. Okay, and then I get b squared is equal to 28.95. And we can't forget to square root that to cancel out that squared. So second square root, 28.95, and I got 5.4 when I round to the nearest tens. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna put a paper after this, and this paper is gonna have missing hypotenuse and missing, sometimes we call these the legs, missing legs. So really pay attention when you're doing this. Are we trying to find the C, the longest side, or do we need to use subtraction and find one of the shorter sides? Okay, so do this paper and then check your answers. Okay.